Hey guys, we're the Jersey Comic Crew, and on today's video, we're going to discuss The Boys Season 2, Episode 4. We're going to do a full spoiler review and let you know all the crazy stuff that happened. Stay tuned.
Hey everybody, this is the Jersey Comic Crew, and we're here bringing you the greatest of the news and reviews of all your favorite comics, movies, and TV shows. As always, I'm Chris Heller, and with me is the man with the plan, Rob Moran. How you doing?
Ooh, I like the rhyming, the man with
Not
the
bad,
plan,
huh?
Rob Moran. So guys,
little bit of freestyle for your ass.
it was good. It's pretty powerful. Speaking of powerful, The Boys Season 2, Episode 4 has released a lot of information. There's a crazy episode. Like this show, if you haven't picked up on it and you're watching this video, one, go back and watch all the other stuff because the show is fantastic. Two,
Do it now.
if you're on the gravy train with us, if you're on this crazy ride that The Boys is, you already know that this episode was probably one of the weirdest, craziest, plot-revealing episodes that we've had. So there's a lot to talk about here and not a lot of time to do it. One of the first things I wanted to talk to you about, Chris, and talk to you guys, the fans at home, is the reunite. The reunion of Butcher and his wife, Becca. Right?
Yes.
Something we wanted since season 1. Finally, we get them back together. They see each other. You know, they make love in the car because apparently that's what you do when you haven't seen each other. I was like, why?
Oh, really? When you don't do it normally?
No, I don't do it ever. I'm a man of God.
God can see you through the roof.
Anyway, Jesus, no.
I'm sorry, Jesus.
No, but like while they're doing that, my whole time is like, all right, Homelander could be here any second. We don't have time to waste. Get in the car and go. But yeah. I guess they got in the car and go, just differently than I thought.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, you see what I did there? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
but it was good to see them, like that reunification. Like they're so happy to see each other, but there's still that thorn in the side that prevents us from being perfect because the son's a soup, right?
Giant elephant in the room, man.
He's a superhero, and as much as Butcher wants to be okay with that, he has his own biases against superhero people. So like,
yeah,
he can't really accept the kid even though he wants to as much as he can, and ultimately that leaves Becca saying, hey, I can't go with you because I know you're going to try to get rid of this kid some way, somehow down the road, and I can't trust you with that. Like I love this kid, he's my son. Yeah. And that kind of like broke obviously Butcher's heart. So I don't know what's going to happen next. I thought that was it. I thought he was going to get her, get out, and then we're going to like move on, you know?
Nah, man, there's no way that's a win situation for Butcher, and here's why.
Okay.
Let's say, we had the happy ending we kind of wanted, right? Becca goes back with him, she joins the boys, and they have a superhero kid, like, on their team. That's basically the power of Homelander.
Yeah.
Even so, like, you train the kid, he's a good dude. It's still the product of Homelander's rape of your wife.
Yeah.
That you are reminded of every day, and it's this kind of ugly, terrible phrase, but it's a bastard child situation where someone like Butcher, who has to live with not only like the knowledge Homelander did this terrible act to his wife, that this is the product of it. So yeah, he totally would have gotten rid of it. And the other flip side is obviously if they leave without the kid, he becomes Homelander because his mother abandoned him because of what he is.
What is Butcher going to do?
Lose.
Like the other option, like you said, let's leave the kid, and then they can't do that. Like I think it's better to have the love of your life and work with this kid and deal with that than not to have her at all, right?
I not necessarily, man.
I guess.
I think some of the hardest choice. I think that's why that scene is so powerful and why we're bringing it up in the beginning over everything else that went on, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's not the decision that makes or breaks living or dying, but it makes or breaks someone's entire livelihood. Butcher's entire livelihood was getting back to her, right?
Yeah, his whole purpose for the past 8 years and the whole show was to get back to her. Now he got back to her, mm-hmm. and that's it. So what does he do? Like, I think Butcher now has to
think of something else. You think of a new way. Or
I think this is going to repower him. And I know you read some of the books, so I know you got to tread lightly in our conversation. But like, mm-hmm. I think this is going to reinvigorate him to go and take down Homelander. He's like, oh, if I kill Homelander, this might solve everything. That's what I think is going to be the result, which we're going to see in episode 5.
So you got to remember, The Boys is a sick and twisted world, right?
Yeah.
Even the boys who are the good guys are pretty effed up in the head mentally. And if I was Butcher, I would be like, well, what I can hope for, the best case scenario is if I kill Homelander and his son wants revenge on me, that gives me an excuse to kill the kid as well. And if that takes the kid out of the picture,
so messed up,
then
man.
that draws Becca back to me, and we can start our lives over.
So that makes sense.
If
God.
Homelander's quote unquote death gives Butcher the excuse that he needs to justify him killing the kid, if the kid's like, like, you're a murderer and blah blah blah, and he's like, well, the kid's too dangerous, time to take him out too, that would justify his actions. But
I can see that.
We'll
see. Speaking of the boys being messed up individuals, let's talk about the Frenchie and Kimiko little story arc that we got in this episode.
Yeah, I called her Kiko last episode because I couldn't remember her actual name. Kimiko.
You're a monster.
So I am a monster.
But like, we see Kimiko, like, she's trying to get back to Stormfront because she wants to kill Stormfront for killing her brother.
Yes.
Ultimately, Frenchie does stop her at the parade and rally, saying that, not to do it, and she stops.
He's like, you will die.
But like, Frenchie, like,
fast.
It has this deep relationship with her, right? He has these emotions. He tried to kiss her, and he's also doing a shit ton of coke, right? So he's obviously not in a good place. He meets
and then going to bang his ex or whatever.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Then he goes bangs his ex. To try
I forgot
to get
about her.
Yeah, I thought she died. I was like, where did you come from?
I was like, are you still alive?
So, I mean, that kind of just shows the Kimiko Frenchie story arc that's been building since season 1. I think it's going to get to a point where there is going to be a romantic relationship with the two of them.
Absolutely.
But like, I don't know. I don't know what to expect from that. I'm just waiting for the ride with that one. Like, I'm not really looking too much into that story.
Well,
I don't know if you are. But...
Yeah, I am, because I think the first thing that needs to happen is the first, like, small steps of breakthroughs.
Okay.
And I think the first thing which needs to happen fairly soon is she needs to start talking again.
Yeah.
Because it's not holding the story back, but it's stagnant now, right? Like, all right, we get it. Like, you went through the crazy trauma. They turned you into this super powered being with against your will. Your brother's dead, and she stopped talking after, like, her parents died, we found out.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the trope they did in Big Bang Theory, where Raj couldn't talk to women for, like, the longest time.
Oh my god!
And after
you must
a while,
be watching that show right now if you're pulling that.
I am. I'm almost done. But like, that's exactly what it is. It's like, all right, after a while, the trope got old, and like, all right, now that he can talk, he's a fully fleshed out character,
and he didn't have to be drunk to do it, kind of thing.
Exactly. Like, Kimiko, like, get over this block. So we can see her develop even more into a 3-dimensional character.
Exactly, because she's kind of just this, like you said, killing machine / like, we need her in case stuff goes bad.
Exactly, right.
And Frenchie's the only kind of one that connects to her and can talk to her.
I love Frenchie though. He's awesome.
I love Frenchie too, and I think I like Frenchie more because Kimiko is in the situation with them. Because by himself, he's kind of just this, like, arms dealer, coke sniffing, like, crazy, like, Frenchman that like has, like, no other additives to his personality. But now you give him this, like, almost like this, like, injured bird that he has to, like, care for.
It shows his humanity, right? It shows how he's human.
So I think the relationship between them will grow. I think she will talk again eventually, hopefully sooner rather than later.
I agree.
I actually hope they wait to hold her, like, speaking until she's fighting Stormfront.
I got a question. Before we get to Stormfront and then we get to, some of the other bigger plots, I don't know if I didn't pay attention enough or if I just missed it. I don't understand Deep and the church people doing all these interviews. Like, what was the reason for that? Like,
yeah.
Like, I feel like I missed a line or something that explains why he was doing these interviews with all these women.
Well, yeah, in the first 3 episodes of season 2, like, he gets involved into kind of this, like, churchy cult area with the weird, like, Hawkeye-ish guy.
Yeah.
And their goal is to get him back into the 7. Why they want or need him back in the 7 is unknown at the moment.
Well, I think we could kind of speculate that they're going to try to control him, so the church has somebody in the Seven
Absolutely.
to
They have
get
some
their wills.
power in there and
Exactly.
bought, and it's all business transaction,
Yes,
right?
that's what that is.
So the Deep is going through basically like what every celebrity goes through in a scandal, right? So think of, I mean, this is awful, but like think of like Kevin Spacey, right? Like they took him off of his shows, they shunned him from Hollywood. He's been very quiet, like just like he's been in quarantine for like a year and a half before COVID.
Yeah, right.
So like stuff like that, where like the Deep had this crazy kind of Hollywood scandal and is in Ohio, and they're trying to rebuild his reputation, almost like a politician, right? Like, okay, you need to get married to the right person, that shows that you're a man of faith and you're straight white American and you're all this like classic political jargon stuff to
Exactly.
hide every weird thing about you. And once that, visual gets fixed in the public eye, then they'll invite you back into the Seven, and then they can control him.
So is this woman like who's going to be his partner to kind of help him?
Exactly. So they were interviewing throughout the which is really cool because randomly between scenes, it's kind of like these just cuts of interviews of different women.
Yeah,
which I thought
strange.
the one funny one was like, I hate Ed Sheeran, and she's got the tattoo.
Yeah, right. She's like,
he made me get an Ed Sheeran tattoo. He loved Ed Sheeran. So like and there are all these women that are kind of also been brainwashed into this church cult thing. So he's, they're interviewing different women to see which is the perfect match for the Deep to kind of give him more gravitas into the public eye. So that's what's going on.
Okay. Then we kind of see the whole Huey, Annie, and MM story, right? They're going on pretty much a road trip to meet somebody who had an experience with a superhero, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who saw a soup get kill their brother, and Vought paid them some money. She tells them their story, and the ultimate thing was like, oh, who is what was her name? What's the name of the hero, the original hero? Liberty. Yeah, who's Lady Liberty? Like, so we can see her to try to figure out what's going on. They're trying to get more dirt. And the big shocker, which freaked me out, Lady Liberty, who's obviously a racist in that clip they showed.
Liberty.
Maybe the same organization. We don't know.
The insurance company is all
behind this. Well, we see that Lady Liberty is Stormfront. Like, Stormfront apparently has been alive since like the 70s at this young peak age. She's a racist monster that we see now.
Yeah, we saw that earlier.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that earlier, but we see it again, right? And like, she's just straight up killing people she doesn't approve with. And she's using, I guess, her experience and know-how to create an army of these radical fans that like support her. So she
reminds me of someone.
So she could take over the Seven and pretty much push Homelander out.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool to see like Homelander have a power struggle with somebody else
who's also as strong as him.
Right? Well, we think. I don't know.
Well, she's got the same kind of power sets,
right? She has the lightning. We know she's
instead
really
of
strong.
Instead of the I-beam, she has lightning. She could fly. She has super strength. Yeah.
So that's cool to see somebody opposite of him try to take control of it and have their own unique motives instead of Mommy's boy. Like, we have evil, crazy Mommy boy, and then we have racist, immortal Nazi lady, right?
Yeah, and it's I like the conversation kind of post them interviewing the lady of like, how has she like been alive this long, and kind of Starlight's like, we don't know the effects of Compound V over a long time, and does this mean she's either an original superhero who was born with powers, or was Compound V alive and around this far back in history?
That's true, because we don't know how Compound V was made yet, right? So it could be blood from an original superhero that's just been augmented,
or any other weird possibility. And if she's been around this long, again, you don't know what the aging process, like it could be the Superman aging process, right? Where he's so powerful and he just doesn't age that well because his body is just different. I did love the conversation in her house. I loved kind of talking her down with his story of his own father.
That was good. We saw more of the human side, of MM.
Yeah, and the conversation of thank God I was kind of like asleep in the back of the car just on my way home, where she stopped and beat the hell out of my brother because he was black.
Yeah.
and you see his face, and you're kind of like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
And like with the other contrast, which I thought was very interesting, was she was the opposite of Huey, and in
Yes.
every way, right? Like she's a black female who was young at the time, and her parents took a $2,000 deal from Vought, and she's been
Nothing.
silent ever since. She's kind of like this recluse in her house, right?
Yeah, she didn't
Huey,
fight. She was quiet. She
exactly,
hid.
and Huey's the exact opposite, right? He's a white male. He didn't take the deal that Vought offered him in the beginning of season 1 when his girlfriend got blown to smithereens.
True.
And Huey decided, like, I'm going to take matters in my own hands with and Butcher and all the rest. So it was an interesting contrast to see. Kind of like the other side, like almost like if Huey took the deal, what he would have become.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the biggest parts of that episode for me. And obviously, like, if you didn't get the feels during that, you might want to go get checked out.
It was definitely powerful. Like you felt all of her emotion. The acting was great, and it was good to see, like you said, that parallel between the two. So we see in the beginning of this episode, he goes to the cabin to meet like his mommy figure. The blonde lady that he killed because she had a son and he was just jealous. We saw her in a nightie in like this cabin in the woods. I was like, oh my god, is she alive? Wait a minute. Did that mean like Homelander? Immediately, I thought of Shapeshifter. I was like, oh, Homelander killed Shapeshifter that time and tricked us all. Holy shit. And
that's what I was thinking, or I thought it was like a dream or his mental escape.
Oh, really? I didn't think it was dream. Like, I thought it was just straight up that was her.
Oh, well, yeah, like that was I was like, oh my god, she's alive. Like, wait, oh, did he kill Shapeshifter, or I was like, did he like somehow fake it? Like, I was like so like everywhere with it. But continue.
What got me, like, and then like she's being his mommy. He's like, oh, you're stronger than them. You're the leader of the 7. Like giving them all the support. I'm like, yeah, this has to be her, right? And then out of nowhere, she starts screaming in pain. It turns into the blob man shapeshifter. I'm like, oh my god, Homelander, you're sick. You're a sick, demented bastard.
What's hilarious is that, like, in that moment, we're all screaming the same thing as Homelander, like, change back!
Yes!
Because they're like, oh god, I don't want to see this. Like,
we're like, no, change back. I was like, that just shows like
change back now.
He needed her, and then ultimately, like, he comes back like after his like little fit and tantrum with Stormfront. He comes back and kills. Like, I don't need anybody.
Yeah, but he shapeshifts to Homelander.
Dude, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I'll let you talk about that. That was a little strange.
So if you're a guy and you hang out with guys, there's eventually there'll be some drinking going on, or some whatever going on, and there's always one guy in the friend group that will bring up this specific question.
The same scenario, by the way, always.
Same exact scenario.
Like, somebody shapeshifts.
Yes, that Homelander also almost answered at the end of this episode. And I immediately, once I watched this, was, man, I cannot wait to ask Rob about this, because I'm sure Rob has had this conversation, because he is also a man, aka scum of the earth, as much as I am. So the question always is, what public? God, no. Look at my beard. I'm not this way. So, like, the question is always, is it gay if you get some type of sexual act done by yourself? If you go back in time, if you can clone yourself, if you have a shapeshifter friend, is it gay? And that's always the question. Someone will bring it up randomly, and it's a question that is old as time. And I think we almost got the answer.
I think, yeah. Like, he was
a lot of build up for that too.
He was gonna do it, and like I felt like he was gonna succumb to shapeshifter because like his own like arrogance, right? He's just so in love with himself. He's like, oh, maybe this is like the way I could fulfill myself. That's what I was thinking, and he changes his mind and kills him. The question is it gay if you do it to yourself? Like, I think so.
I think, well, in
not that there's not wrong with it. I just don't.
No, it's just a question, right? In Homelander's case, it is, because that's not him.
Yes.
So it definitely is.
Well, here's the thing with shapeshifter, right? I think we're getting into an area that I don't want to spend too much time in, because
I could spend all day in this. I think it's a fascinating conversation.
But like, I think it's all about the mindset of, just because you do something that may not be deemed a gay act doesn't mean you are gay. It's like what you think. So like Homelander, if he had sex with Shapeshifter, or Shapeshifter was in the woman's form,
when he looked like Madeline.
Yeah, right, Madeline, right? Like that's him being a straight man sleeping with a straight, woman.
But I mean, if everything's shapeshifted, I guess
I think, and like that's what like he believes in his mind, like because he talks to her as if it was Madeline, right? He talks to her, believes that like. As far as we know, he believes that's her, and then when he breaks the shapeshift, that breaks everything, and he doesn't want to do anything with it. And
but like in all seriousness, too, like the end part, I mean, as crazy as it is also like Shapeshifter trying to save his own life because this guy is completely insane, right? So he's basically like, I'll look like you, I'll look like anybody, just don't kill me.
Exactly.
And it doesn't work. But like that is it's more so of like life or death situation.
And I think the temptation with Homelander seeing himself and maybe going with that act, I think it's less of an issue of sexual orientation. I think it's more of a mindset for him.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't think it's an issue. I just think it's a hilarious trope that relates to so many conversations we've all had.
It's like, oh, Homelander, like, what do you need to feel better, right? It's kind of like him looking at himself. He's like,
and we know his ego is through the roof, right? Because we saw that conversation he had with Stormfront where he basically like he was looking through like memes and all this stuff of like
some of those memes are great.
Oh, they were great.
I think I have a couple of them saved. I'll put up one or two around here.
They're so good, and like he's clearly like every time you see his face kind of just cringe. Which another instance was like, which was great. The Maria Menounos interview with Queen Maeve, where he basically just outs her for being a lesbian.
I think that was probably the worst thing that Homelander has done to this episode.
Oh, real worse than everything going on with the Shapeshifter?
Yep. Shapeshifter knew he was gonna die.
I get, like he ousted her like against her will and knowledge. Just
like he legit just blasted Maeve. He's like, oh, and he did it in such a terrible way.
We have a gay hero on our team. What are you talking about? Maria Menounos.
Yeah, he's like, oh, we have a black, person, A-Train, who, by the way...
all the way after they got rid of A-Train.
Right, they got rid of A-Train. Oh, we have Black Noir. He represents,
everybody.
We
don't know what he
is, right? And
so
we have a gay, here. Who's gay? And maybe, like, stone cold whiteface. I'm like, no.
And he knows about her, like, girlfriend.
Yeah, but it seems like he doesn't care. And the reason I play
close because we don't know so far of how, like, if they're together or not. But
yeah, it seems like he doesn't care. Like, I think he's over it, and, like, he has other things to worry about. And this kind of, like, does two things for us. One, it shows, like, okay, Homelander doesn't care about that. Allows Queen Maeve to be herself. And two, allows us to focus Homelander's attention on the other stuff.
Bro, I don't think he's happy about it at all. I think he's hiding it.
You think?
Yeah, because him and her used to date. Remember? They were an item,
yeah.
And they were the visual of the again the political corporate scheme of this is how we look in public. This is what we do in public. You have to sacrifice to get paid and do all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think she broke that with, oh, now your decision or the way you are, which is a horrible term. But the way you are is making me look bad at a time where like Stormfront's taking all this publicity from me already. So I think that's going to be an underlying thing for the rest of the season that's going to come to a head.
The interesting point episode 7 that Maria Menounos brought up in the interview.
Maria Menounos.
Was that like, oh, how come most of the heroes are white? And we're like, oh, they're not born this way. Well, what's the explanation here? You can't go the DC route. Like, oh, that's just, A, B, and C. Oh, yeah. A company literally made them. The company's racist. Okay, how do we explain this away? I don't know.
That was crazy. So
that's going to unfold more later.
That line was like 92% white.
Mm-hmm.
I think the rest was like 6% black or Hispanic, and then less than 1% for every other race.
Yeah.
So that was 100% like, oh, we didn't know about Compound V, lies. And on top of that, we have like the situation where this company is like, only white people get to be heroes
crazy.
Unless you're like an athlete like A-Train or, the fake hero stuff that they were giving to them overseas to create the war and stuff like that. So yeah, that's going to have to play to a head, especially with a character like Giancarlo Esposito, who's obviously a Hispanic male running this
Oh,
company.
that's
That's
true.
something he's going to have to deal with as well. So
Oh, we're
that
gonna
to
see
me was
that.
the biggest information tidbit of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, like wrapping up Homelander, he had a doozy this one because we didn't see him thankfully at Becca's house with Ryan and the kid.
Oh, I'm sure we're gonna see the result
Um,
of that.
but the overarching, now that here's the thing, now that he has, obviously spoilers, now that he's killed the shapeshifter, he doesn't have that Madeline voice in his head that brings
Mm-hmm.
him back down from completely insane to still insane.
He's gonna snap within the next episode or two.
And he almost did, right, when he confronted Stormfront about it, and she's like, dude, like, just fix how your PR, you're basically like a 50s, douchebag wrapped in the flag, and no one cares about that
Right?
anymore. Like, your image is dated, and that's your own fault. So, and this is coming from someone who's clearly been alive for a long time,
Mm-hmm. Because she knows the game, man.
and we'll also see how long she's been alive and what that connects to in the future. But I think too. Also, side note, the lady who plays Madeline is the girlfriend in Karate Kid, which will connect to Cobra Kai if you watch Cobra Kai season 2, which will connect to season 3. So she's the original like girl that Billy Zabka's dating,
Oh,
and then
really?
yeah, and then
Oh, okay. I
Daniel
didn't know that.
Larusso dates after Miyagi gives him the car in Karate
Yeah.
Kid 1. So she will come back in Cobra Kai. Anything. That's
Okay.
another conversation. But this is going to be with Homelander now not having that kind of like therapeutic time
Mm-hmm.
to detox and talk to quote unquote Madeline. It's going to be ramped up. And I think with what happened to Butcher, he's going to be ramped up. And the one little tidbit we haven't mentioned is that Black Noir is on his ass.
Yes.
He is going after Butcher. He he sat there at this computer with this poor like tech intern lady
Oh yeah, I remember
and
that.
waited until she found him. And he is hunting Butcher. And as we've seen, he's really good at what he does, and what he does is very messed up.
I can't wait for the next episode. Guys, let us know down in the comments below what you thought of The Boys Season 2, Episode 4. Let us know your favorite moments from the scene, what disturbed you the most, and your theories for the next episode and the future of the season. That wraps up this video on The Boys. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. As always, I'm Rob Moran.
I'm Chris Heller.
Have a good day.
See you next time. YouTube.com/Jersey Comic Crew.